Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. It is Friday with Fran time, and I apologize for being a little bit late. I was actually watching something over on YouTube, and I say over on YouTube, some of you might be watching from YouTube, but a company called TubeBuddy has deemed today as International Creator Day, and so they're having this whole 8-hour long seminar of different people coming on to talk about different things that they do in social media. And of course, the one that I wanted to watch was on right before we were supposed to be on here. And so I was trying to catch every little morsel that I could before hopping over here. So I apologize that we're a couple of minutes late, but better late than never is what I was always taught as a kid. So so welcome to Friday with Fran. I am your host, Shelley, and the co-host is Fran. We are both people who have been involved with special education for a long time. Fran has raised two now grown children who both of them have disabilities. Fran herself became someone with a unique ability in the past several years after a series of strokes and concussions. I'm a former special education teacher with over 25 years as a special educator. Not all of that as a teacher, some of that as an aide, and some of that as a substitute. So I try to say educator, not teacher, because I don't want to mislead anybody. And today we have decided we're going to talk about sensory stuff. So two more things before we get into sensory things. If you are watching, please let us know by a hashtag live. If you're watching this in the replay, let us know hashtag replay. If you have any comments, please post them. I see that we have one already. Good afternoon, Mom.
Yes. Good morning. Wait, afternoon.
And good afternoon. Yep. And if you're watching and you want to be sure never to miss an episode of Friday with Fran, make sure that you either subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a little red button that says subscribe. If you are watching on Facebook, make sure that you like the page. And that way you will never miss an episode of Friday with Fran. You will get notified every time I go live. I try not to go live too many more times outside of when it's scheduled to on Tuesdays and Fridays. So I think that takes care of the business. Hi, Fran.
Hi. Guess what?
What?
I figured it out.
What was wrong?
No, I connected. You know me and my monitors and my love of technology.
Yes.
And my need to know who's commenting. Well, I have a different computer than I've ever used with you.
Uh-huh.
And I have a new connection device, and I didn't know how to make it work. So part of the reason we were late was I was trying to figure out even how to sign on to this device to get started. But now I have both of your pages up so that I can truly see people commenting.
Aha. And for anyone who is a member of the Facebook group No Limits, Changing the World's Perspective of Special Needs Through IEPs, Fran is the Fran that you see as moderator on the page sometimes. So now, in case you didn't realize that, you can put a face with the name. So I'm going to post a couple of comments in the chat really quickly because I've been forgetting to tell people how they can access my website to get their free IEP checklist if they want it. So I just want to put those in there today. So the first one I'm putting in is for parents, and the second link I'm putting in is for teachers, or could be for therapists too. Okay. So sensory needs. First of all, should we describe what that is?
How about we just describe what we do and then see if someone can figure out what the edit is.
Okay.
Or everyone think on what you think a sensory need is, and then let's go.
Okay, that works too. So that requires input. Yeah, so that requires input from our audience today. So what do you think a sensory need is?
Or what is sensory? Well, okay, so, I guess we could really talk about them. So what our senses, perhaps. And therefore, if you know what your senses are.
There's 5, I'll give you a hint.
Your sensory needs, therefore, correspond with how you respond with your senses. How's that?
That was good. That was very good. And
Okay.
and I'm really thankful that you put it that way, because in the examples that I was thinking about sharing, I think they probably will touch on all of the senses.
Okay. And you're really loud in my ear, so I'm trying to figure something out.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
If
I can
I got a
talk.
new Bluetooth, that wasn't no, because then no one can hear you. That is a sensory issue right now because remember Shelley had said concussion syndrome, quite a few concussions, or had from concussion. So I discovered that um, my brain is not connecting quickly today. I will tell you that.
Okay.
Processing is at a chipmunky turtle speed, if you want to figure that one out. But
Okay.
so yeah, think on that one. But I discovered that I have light sensitivity and sound sensitivity. So a lot of times you will notice that my setting is a little darker than Shelley's setting because those are the days that, though I should be nice and turn a light on to make the video a better quality, I just can't. So she gets a dark me.
And I'm really happy that you mentioned that you just can't. It isn't that you don't want to. Sensory needs are not wants. They're called needs for a reason. I suffered with migraines consistently for quite a few years. I don't anymore. I still get one on a rare occasion. But when I am having one of the really bad ones, I should say, I need it to be quiet. I need it to be as dark as possible. And I need it to be cool, but I want to be under a blanket. So
Mm-hmm.
those are things that I need. Those are sensory things that I need at that moment. And I just want to make that clear that so often, this is probably one of the biggest misconceptions or misperceptions, is that people choose and they want to have some sort of input, or they want to have that behavior that's causing them to have that input. And that's not the case. It's like needing to breathe or needing to have fluid in your body. It truly is a need. And honestly, and tell me if this has not been your experience, everybody has sensory needs. It's just that some people, their sensory needs are amplified for whatever reason.
Yeah, I will go with that. That we all, to some degree, have a sensory or sensory needs. It is how we process those needs, I believe, to the degree that it becomes more obvious to the outside world.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yep. I think that's a good add-on to what I said too. So when I messaged you yesterday and said, what are we going to discuss on Friday with Fran? And you said, I don't know. Do you have any idea? Or no, actually, you just said, do you have any ideas? And I said, well, what about sensory? And you said,
You said
yes,
sensory
with
clothes.
clothing. And then, then I kind of said, well, maybe we should do the umbrella of sensory. And I said, I don't remember. I should get out the text thread. But anyway, it was that you said, says me, the person with earphones in, to tone down the noise of the chicks.
Earplugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had earplugs in.
Yeah.
As you were texting me that, I thought, sensory. Yeah, and they weren't loud. I just had a discussion with the person whose house at which I was, and they're really not that loud. It's just I was trying to write in a notebook and focus, and all I could hear was these baby chickens, just
Mm-hmm.
and and they had not affected me until I was trying to focus on something else, and and then they were so loud. So I've learned, I found these really cool earplugs. They're not the cheapest, but they're not the most expensive.
Mhm.
And I just went and got them. I carry them with me at all times because I never know when that part of my sensory differences will appear. And I just stuck them in, and it helped me refocus so that I could get the note written. And then I was crocheting at another point, and I didn't have my earplugs in, and I didn't even hear them.
Right. And that's really interesting too that you say that, because you think about when you're going to a new location and you've got the radio on in your car, and suddenly you feel like you don't know exactly where you are, or maybe what turn you have to make. What is the like natural thing that most everybody does? You turn the radio down. Your brain really can only focus on one thing at a time. And so if you're listening to the radio and you're trying to focus on, wait, where am I? Where do I have to go? Was this my turn? Is that my turn? You turn the radio down so that your focus is on the thing that you need to focus at that time, which is, where am I going?
Right.
And I found myself yesterday, and I really don't know why. I didn't have a rough day. Oh, actually, I do know why. So what I was trying to do, because this is kind of that focusing thing, was I was making Jonas, who is my little Chihuahua dog, who's not near me right now. I bought this homemade dog biscuits package. And so I was trying to make those yesterday afternoon. And I had to roll them out, and I had to follow the directions. And he was barking, and it was just driving me crazy. Normally, it doesn't bother me as much when he barks. But yesterday it was just like, really? Could you just stop? Could you just quit? You know? And yeah, but Mom, was he really listening on the phone conversation? I bet he wasn't thinking. Mom says that my dad could talk on the phone and do crossword puzzles at the same time. You can do more than one thing at once, but your need to focus on one thing is you can, that's, I mean, there's all kinds of studies that say that. So he probably wasn't answering a question and talking at the same time. That would be where science would say it's not possible. But my dad was an amazing human being, so maybe he was.
Though sometimes I'm going to run with that thought for a second.
Okay.
I well, like, even as you were doing you're adding your answer correctly, or I thought he did, as you were doing your intro and you were putting your website information in, I was working on my Facebook pages, but I still was able to pay attention. But could I have answered a question at the same time? I don't know. We might have to try that experiment sometime.
Well, I know
sometimes I do better when I have multiple things, because if I only have a thing, then my chipmunks run in, and they run in really fast. And did you know a bunch of chipmunks is a scurry?
I don't think I did.
Yes. And so I get a scurry occasionally, and then that's, yeah.
Yeah. And chipmunks, squirrels, either one of those little furry animals. I think you can do multiple things at once. I think it's when you need to understand one better than the others, you have to tone out the others.
If you need
you're concentrating
your focus. If it needs your focus, then yes.
Yeah. But I mean, I had another example of that the other day. I was talking with someone for an upcoming #NoLimits broadcast, and he surprised me when he called, because he was like exactly on time, and I wasn't expecting that. And so I was trying to wrap up something that I was doing, and while I was trying to give him the idea of what #NoLimits is, I was also trying to wrap up this other thing I was doing, and both things required me to really think about what I was saying and what I was doing, and I got them both wrong. And I even said that to him. I said, I'm sorry, I'm trying to multitask. And he was like, yep, nope, can't do that. And this is he's got his doctorate in, I want to say neuropsychology, but I'm not sure about that. Hopefully by the time he comes on the show, I'll know that for certain, but I'll focus on that and get that done. But yeah, so that's
neuropsych. That was
yeah,
fun.
Yeah. So that's kind of sensory, but we kind of veered off a little bit. So
yeah, we really kind of
yeah. I mean, it's yeah. Okay. I have.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go back.
I have chain reaction thoughts, or I don't know how else I described them recently, but so like I'll think of something and then I can, so that's what I was trying to think. Can we tie sensory into how the brain works? Which it does, but
it is. It's because our brain is not filtering appropriatly. So
right.
There, I tied it back in for you.
Thank you. See, this is why you're on this show, because you're so awesome. I can't do it without you.
Well, I don't know if you could call it Friday with Fran. Technically, that's probably the reason I'm on the show, but we're gonna go. I'll take that compliment. I need that right now, so we'll go with it.
I mean, okay, yeah, I have done the show without you, but I really need you. Yeah, because yeah, you're right. I mean, the name of the show just doesn't work if you're not here. So sensory needs. So some of the things like that we had talked about it like many weeks back, just you and I personally outside of this was
it was when we were at my undisclosed location.
Yeah, was clothing and how some people say, well, you have to wear socks in the winter. Well, some people can't wear socks in the winter because of the sensory issues involved. Or for young ladies in schools and for women outside of schools, that you have to wear a bra or some sort of undergarment of some kind. Thank you, Mom.
And you compliment us as well by being with us. You make part of the team. My monitor's way over there.
So let's talk about, because I believe either you or someone in your family has that sensory issue of the clothing.
Yeah. It would be my daughter, and she'll admit it. So I just got this really nifty Keen reacher.
Yeah.
And it works really well. I was able to pull my wheelchair all the way. Sorry, I have to mark something really quickly.
That's okay.
I'm wearing one of those silly halter monitor thingies you got to wear.
Oh,
for your
yeah.
heart. Yeah. And if you have like a funky event, you're supposed to push the little button, and then you got to enter it into the phone. Well, the phone was on my wheelchair, so I used my reacher to pull my wheelchair closer. Then I used the reacher to grab the phone halter monitor thingy, and then I just entered. So anyway, detour, chipmunk, I'm back. So it is my daughter. And everything in the past, she wanted things tight. Now everything she wants too big. Everything is too tight. So like she likes to wear my clothes, which makes life really difficult because then I don't have clothes because I go to look for my clothes and they're missing. But it's really kind of funny because we've kind of flip-flopped because, well, prior I had lost some weight. And so I could wear her clothes when she took off with my clothes. But now we're kind of wearing the same size-ish clothes. So it'll be, don't touch those pants. Those are mine. But Mom, mine are too tight. No, they fit you perfectly. They feel tight to you. Yes, they feel tight. So can I wear these? No, because those are the only ones I can wear because literally they are too tight. So is it a perception thing or is it for that person it's reality? I have a friend that talks about like our emotions when we're feeling something, it is real and true to us at that time, whether it is real and true to us, it feels real and true, that emotion. And in the same sense, I was having this discussion with my daughter was, well, to her, they are too tight, even though they're falling off of her, literally the pants that feel comfortable, the pants that fit her are too tight for her at this time.
Right.
So we were both right in saying, but for her, okay, well, so what do? We just went and got some more big pants
Yeah.
in the meantime, and that way we just, and it's a struggle sometimes, the clothing issue. But I was thinking of the story, way back, and this story's been around. I was going to research it, and then I thought, oh, that's a date, and then I'll have to try to get you to tell me the date. So instead, I just thought I would ask the viewers and you, do you remember The Princess and the Pea?
Yes.
I am so sensitive that I can find that pea. Um, so I just, like, in my shirt, if there's like a little piece of thread that's got a texture off in it and I can feel it rubbing, it'll feel like it's rubbing a hole in my skin sometimes. And I cannot wear that shirt. I've had to get rid of brand new clothing that fits because I can feel something different. And that was even prior to so that's amplified in people who have sensory needs.
Right.
Like, I would wear sunglasses and earplugs, and sometimes I'd pull a hat over my head because everything was so loud, so bright, so too much. It was just too much for me.
Yeah.
When I had so that was how I some of it. And so how did I handle that? Do you want to know how I handled that?
Yes, please.
Aside from wearing that, my outward, sometimes my hands just started doing their own fun things. Sometimes as you on No Limits, on Tuesday, they were talking about jazz hands. Yeah, I called them my happy hands. They would just take off, and it was, so we discovered, okay, well, let's put a spinner in my hand. So that kind of helped. So I had a little fidget spinner thing. And then there are certain situations that it's not accepted because it's a distraction. So one was at my daughter's IEP meeting.
Oh.
So there was somebody with me, her co-guardian, and we had worked it out, or she had worked it out. I don't know, but it worked out. She would just tap my leg under the table, and if my hands started going above the table or getting too extreme. So, and that was just her gentle cue, and it just redirected me to, okay, fidget spinner, sit on my hands, do something else in the moment, because at this time, happy hands are not going to make it.
Right. And I'm not sure that that's okay.
No, it's not. But in the situation, for them to listen to me and to believe that I had authority and power and to give what I was saying
credence.
Yeah. So what's the other word? Give it
validity.
There it is. That's not it either, but I told you my thought process, it'll come, and then we're going to run right back to that word. But
okay.
They would not have respected as what I had to say as much. If
right. And that's the part that I'm not sure is okay. Because you are you. And especially,
really?
I feel, yeah. And
no way.
And I have to say, I was a little disappointed earlier when you said you had a friend, because that meant it was not me. So that means you have other friends besides me.
But you are my friend on Friday.
I'm just kidding you.
And that is the important thing right now.
At this moment, yes.
At this moment.
No, I was just kidding you. But at an IEP meeting, and for anybody watching that may not know what that is an individualized education plan. And so these people are special education teachers, people who understand or supposed to understand the special education world. Maybe there was some therapists there. And for you being you, not being acceptable and respected and valued. I don't like that, because, you know, here's why.
Different me though. Oh, but go ahead. I'll let you go. Go.
So right now, I don't know if you can see it, but I've been playing with this and doing exactly what I'm showing you, just kind of rolling it in my fingers. Okay. I was doing that under the table, or, well, not under the table, but, you know, under the camera.
Out of view.
Out of view. So I have been in meetings where a speech pathologist, actually, I'm specifically remembering, was doing something like this above the table the whole time of the meeting. So why would that be okay? And you having happy hands not be okay?
Because parents are already at a disadvantage in an IEP meeting. And unfortunately, that is truth. I wish it was not. But in most IEP meetings, they are considered lacking, whether it's in education or understanding, and hence why I'm so excited for what you do, how you educate and empower families and individuals as a master IEP coach, as an IEP consultant, that you are giving that power back to families and letting them realize that they do have knowledge and that they are just as valued on the team as the educated people on the team.
Well, thank you, first of all. Secondly, the people sitting at the table are experts in their field, and the parent is the expert in their child. So it's a table full of experts. There isn't someone sitting at the table that is not an expert in something. And it bothers me. It really does bother me what you just said. And I've not had your experiences. I've not sat as the parent at an IEP meeting. I've now, since becoming a coach, sat next to the parents and been more with them than when I was teaching. And I don't like it. I don't think it's right. I guess that is probably obvious because of what you said, because I have my show, and I am trying to change the perspectives, and not just on Tuesdays, but on Fridays. I'm hoping that the things that you and I discuss will show the parallels to other people's lives. And I mean, April is autism acceptance, or autism awareness, or awareness and acceptance, whatever.
I am not laughing at autism. Please don't get me wrong on that.
No, I know you're laughing at the PC terminology of the day.
But I want everyone to know that I'm not laughing at autism.
Right.
Autism is awesome. That's where I will end that statement.
Yeah. I have a friend who she's another master IEP coach, and she focuses mainly on people who have autism. And so she calls herself an awesome achiever, and she spells awesome AU like autism, and not like the autism aw instead of the AWE that awesome would be spelled. Cool. So it's a cool thing. I like that she does that. But yeah, I mean, the more we talk about it, like, I'm stretching this thing now because I'm frustrated at
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I don't want you to be frustrated though. It's a reality, and I think part of I was reflecting upon Fridays with Fran this morning when during my quiet time, and I was praying, and I was thinking it's kind of unfiltered in what you see, because we really don't plan too far ahead. Sometimes it's literally we haven't planned, and
So
it,
true.
and you do get us. This is unfiltered. I mean, yes, we all filter in life to some degree, but for the most part, you get us unfiltered because it's our lives. We're just sharing. We just happen to be opening up our journeys, our seasons with you, in hopes that you realize you're not alone. That's my goal out of this is you're not for that one my circumstances may be similar enough to something you're going through for you to realize I'm not alone. Because so often as a parent of a child with special, different, unique needs, I don't even know what PC terms, and maybe we should do a show on that, and maybe we shouldn't because I don't know where that would take us. But either way, sometimes you feel so alone because you don't know even how to share it with another individual. And each of our journeys are unique, yet there are similarities.
Mhm.
Even in you raising a child who does not have a special need, we have similar aspects of raising our daughters
Mhm.
that we can share, and that I can grow from you and you can grow from me. Just so that's how I kind of see Fridays with Fran. They're unfiltered. And I discovered I was doing some research the other day on traumatic brain injuries,
Mhm.
and yeah, you kind of lose your filter too with that as well.
Right. Yeah, you do. I
That's the
want
best
to
in that.
share something, and I'm going to try to say it without crying, although even just copying it and getting it into the chat box, I haven't hit send yet. Um, this was said in my prayer meeting. I do a prayer meeting with a wonderful group of women called the Rooted Sisters um, every Friday morning at 7:30. And this morning, this was brought up, and it says, "You weren't rejected. God says you weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because they were not assigned to your destiny." And I mean, I've had times when I have felt rejected. I've had jobs that I was not rehired to for the following year. Um, and those jobs that I moved from to the next place, those people saw, those people were part of my destiny. And I think everybody on the planet has been rejected by someone or someone's in their lifetime. And that those words just really, really touched me this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that they will inspire someone else as they have me today to really hold on to that and really understand that God has a plan for each of us, and some people aren't part of that plan some people in our lives are not part of that plan.
And we try to fit them in, or feel like because they didn't fit in, that it was
Right.
somehow our fault, or our some fault within us that caused that, rather
Right.
than it just wasn't part of the plan. Thank you for sharing that, Shelley.
Yep.
That's really neat.
Yep. So what are some other, as we talked about, people are rejected or not respected because of some of their sensory needs. So, we were talking about hand flapping or jazz hands or happy hands. What other sensory?
I'm laughing. Even as you were saying it, it came to mind of my sister. She shakes her leg. She has shaken her leg for as long as I've known her whole life. But she doesn't just like, no, like she'll rock the whole table will be vibrating in my kitchen as she's sitting at the kitchen table, and she's not even in contact with the table. It's because she's shaking the whole house with her leg, and she doesn't even realize she's doing it. And that's just something she does.
Right.
It's how she keeps herself going forward instead of sideways with her chipmunks.
Right. And we, like I said, we all do it to some degree. So in your day, those that are watching, and I mean, Fran, you and I know probably most of our own sensory issues, but there's something called stimming. And we refer to kids often that have autism as kids who stim. So what stimming is refers to activities that a person might do in order for them to get that stimulation. That's where the stim comes from, is the stimulation of, whatever. So I will, and my mom will attest to this because she called me out on it a while ago. I'll play with my hair. Like I'll just kind of start, I'll be talking to somebody and all of a sudden, and I do this, it's just, I don't know why I need that input at that moment, but all of a sudden I'm just like, oh, okay, and this right here that I've been playing with is a ponytail holder. So, I have one of those with me frequently so that I can have something to, either put in my hair or take, cause I just, I'll do this a few times and I'll sometimes I'll do that. And, so playing with my hair is one of my stims that I do. It's not inappropriate or unacceptable in society, so people don't look at that. And I'm not repetitively doing it within a short amount of time.
To the extreme that we do any activity that it becomes a stim.
Right. I do think that, that in order for it to technically be classified as stimming, there has to be repetition within a short, or not even within a short, but, within a certain.
Again, we're not professionals in this area.
Right, exactly. But the thing, what I'm trying to say is, people tap their pens or their pencils when they're writing, or they click them. Or maybe they don't tap them, but maybe they just kind of bounce them. Maybe they're not actually getting that tapping noise, which is for your hearing sense. And it could also be for your tactile sense if you're actually tapping it on the table or whatever. Like we talked about, the dimming of the lights. And that some people are in such a heightened awareness that they can hear the sound that
there is a hum.
Yeah.
There is a hum.
I'm not saying there's not. I'm just saying that not everybody, a lot of people can focus it out.
Mm-hmm.
But some,
you can walk in certain stores and it's like, oh my goodness, it's so loud. Right.
Chewing, loud chewing, my mom says, or doodling. Yeah, just doodling on a piece of paper. I had students where, for whatever reason, they needed some oral stimulation. So we tried gum, we tried chewy candies, we tried hard candies, we tried carrots and celery. And of course, the kid didn't, wasn't as willing to try those things as the candy and the gum. I even had a handheld massager to try to get some input from the outside. Mm-hmm. And this thing right here, I don't know if you can see what it is, but it's what they call a TheraBand. So mm-hmm. it's stretchy. You can put those on chairs for the feet for kids to, bounce on them that way, or to give that resistance.
That causes a sensory problem if you can't hold on to them.
Well, it could. And that's
saying, not that I know anybody that has that problem when they have to hold on to them sometimes.
Well, yeah. I mean, the resistance is good too. It builds up your muscles. So, mm-hmm. I mean, it has multi-purposes, but.
And you know what though? I mean, it's the latest thing, and even people that aren't on the spectrum or is weighted items.
Yes. Yeah. Weighted vests, weighted blankets.
Weighted lap pads, weighted,
yes.
Or deep compression, because
yes.
they're providing that decompression. And where I wanted to go with that, that's what I brought. I'm sorry, did I jump in?
Nope.
Okay. because I was thinking on this was, I know my daughter we used to do brushing techniques with, but and I'll come back to that if I don't, remind me. But then I crocheted a lap pad for somebody, that they were able to use, and they would wear headphones sometimes, and sometimes they didn't, and but I know that sometimes if that's not available, and I've noticed it, you can go up to this individual when you notice they're needing that input and you don't have it, you just give them a really deep hug.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because you also don't want to share your love for that person, but you're just giving them that sensory input, that deep sensory tactile input.
Right.
And it just kind of recenters this individual back. And sometimes you don't even need it, you can just do it with the arm, or they need contact with you, or so I've noticed and observed that the weighted items have become more popular.
Yeah. And so talk about the brushing technique.
Well, this was way back, when my daughter, who had sensory, and I even think they call it something different now than when originally it used to be sensory integration disorder. Now it's sensory processing, isn't it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably.
I can't keep up with it. It's just alphabet soup.
Yeah.
Really, it is. You just throw a bunch in, then you just put your ladle in, and you pull it up, and you go, okay, that's what you got today.
Yeah.
Today, that's what they're gonna call it.
Right.
But anyway, sorry, that was brushing. Surgical brushes, that surgeons use to wash prior to surgery have these bristles on them, and that's what we would use. I mean, now they have the actual tool, but way back when we were using this technique with my daughter, we would take a surgical sponge and wash all the soap stuff out of it, and then have it, and we would use it to desensitize her, for lack of a better way to say it. And she would bring it to us sometimes to help her when she knew she needed calming. And she could take it, and she had it in school, and she could do it to herself. It was kept in her desk at school.
Yeah, and I do something that is like brushing, but it's and I'll just kind of show it to you. I think I will. So I just take my finger and just gently go across the skin. I don't want to call it caressing because that sounds not right, but I just barely. We always called this
light
tickling.
Massage.
Huh?
Light massage.
Very, very, yeah, it could be that very, very light massage. My grandfather used to, us grandkids would kind of line up, and Grandpa would do it with a tissue. He'd take the point of take a tissue and make a point out of it, and then he would on our face. And to some people, that's the most annoying thing in the world. Like Kevin, he does not like it, but to me and several of my cousins, it's like, oh, like you can calm us down almost instantly by starting to do that. And so sometimes, Mom just said, or a tissue. Yeah, I was saying it as she was typing it. Sometimes I've had students that have been really off, and I will just go up and I'll start just kind of like making letters or just squiggly lines on their back. And I've had some kids that have literally just frozen. I mean, in a good way, because they like, oh, that was the exact input that they needed at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a million things that can be sensory input. I used to have a whole section in my classroom of different items that kids could get if they needed them. And there are things now that they call a sensory diet. And it's not actual food, but it's providing, and there's assessments that go along with determining what items would need to be and how often a child would need to have the items in this diet. But it's kind of like, how many vitamins do you need and how much of it a day? If you want to be functioning at your best, then these sensory diets need to be followed, like, hopefully you follow for yourself when you're eating. And I sometimes think that schools don't understand that, or daycares, or they think, oh, they just need it, once or twice a week, or and depending on what it is, maybe that is the case, but a lot of people do need it every day, multiple times a day. And it needs to be done that way for the child to function at their best. Yeah, they can survive without it, just like you can survive without getting all of your vitamins every day, but you're going to survive better if you have all the right nutrients. So for anybody who's never heard of a sensory diet, Google that. And, again, like I said, it's not something that, as Fran mentioned a little bit ago, we're not therapists and professionals of, being able to give out the diagnoses or the exact definitions of things. We know how they work in our lives, so we apply them that way. And so, yeah, check that out. That might be something. And it's not, like I said, there are diets that will change your foods, because there are certain things that they found for that. But this is a different type of diet. It is that, like you talked about. Yeah, it's like that compression vest, or, there's deep pressure, there's light pressure.
Oh, well, speaking of deep pressure, okay, so I got my new braces for my hands, and they're really cool. But this one here was not fitting just so. It was just off a bit. And so on prayer day, I went and had it remolded for my hand. And he got it a little tighter up against my hand, cupped it. So there's like almost a deeper pressure into the palm of my hand. I love it. It's because my hands hurt all the time. It's a pain that I've gotten used to, per se. They hurt, they ache all the time, but sometimes I get a shooting pain in them as well, and some other things. But I've found since that day that deep pressure on my hand, but I've also found that I can't have it constantly. So I will loosen that part of my brace sometimes and just pull it away just so that I don't have it up against there, because it's too much of a good thing almost sometimes.
Right.
So hence the diet, how you have to, you can't just always eat this. Well, some people do, but theoretically speaking, you're not supposed to always eat the exact same thing all the time.
Right. You need a balance. Where's Alex? We need our balance.
Getting physical therapy.
Oh, okay.
Remember, she had a knee replacement.
Yeah. So you need to have balance, and it's also something that is not earned or used as a reward.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You wouldn't withhold a particular item of food that has a particular vitamin in it that somebody needs because they hadn't behaved, in your opinion, that morning.
And unfortunately, that is done.
I know.
There's no reason for you to have your headphones. You don't need them right now because you're not behaving.
Right.
You need to be paying attention right now. Well, give me my headphones so that I can pay attention.
Right. Yeah. And some people they don't understand that. And again, that's why I have these shows that I have, and, why I do the things that I do, because I'm trying to get people to understand that there is more than one way to think.
There is?
Yep.
No.
You were delayed with that reaction. I had to really like.
I got distracted because your mom posted and it was on the other screen.
Dang, I was thinking ice cream. That makes you feel better. Yeah, but that's okay every once in a while.
However, if you ate it every day and only that, your body would grow tired of it, and it might not even make you feel better.
That's right. Eventually, it would make you feel sick.
I don't know how long. So, I mean, you could do it a science experiment if you really wanted to. Mom, you can get back to us and tell us how long it took before you got sick of ice cream.
Yeah, do that, Mom. I'll check with you on Sunday and see how you're feeling with having nothing but ice cream from now until Sunday.
I just made some frozen caramel yogurt. Would you like to try that?
Oh, that sounds delicious. Yeah. My cooking experiment this week was making the dog biscuits, and I think I might have messed them up. But thankfully, they're just dog biscuits, and he's not going to complain.
Did you make your own mix, or did you?
Yeah, so there's going to be a gentleman come on in May, and he's called Purely Patrick. He has a business called Purely Patrick, and he measures out all the dry ingredients for things, and then you can buy those from him, and then you just add your wet ingredients.
Oh, cool.
So he added all the dry stuff, and then I just had to add eggs and water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Jonas likes them because I gave him a taste test last night. So I just don't think I made them. I'm not good at measuring like thickness, and they were supposed to be a certain thickness. I think I might have made them a little bit thinner than what they were supposed to be, but he liked them. I did a taste test this morning between that and one of his store-bought kind. And the first store-bought kind and the homemade kind, he went for the store-bought. Then I did a different store-bought kind that we have, and then he went for the homemade one. So I'm like, okay, well, we're one in one.
So that's good.
Yeah. So I know that it's tied. So I know that the homemade ones are healthier for him because they don't have, all the preservatives and stuff in them that store-bought ones would. So
yeah, I made some the other day. I just took some oats that had expired for human consumption, but I figured they were still okay. And I ground them in my bullet, and I mixed them with I had some leftover canned pumpkin. And I just mixed them with that, and then I added some flax and chia, and then I just baked them. I rolled them real thin and then baked them.
Nice.
Really, 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 really long time because I wanted them to, in essence, dehydrate.
Yeah.
And last.
Yeah, these had to bake in the oven for a really long time, and then they were supposed to sit in the oven even after you turn the oven off to let them completely dry out. I still think, because again, I didn't get the thickness exactly right, so some of them are a little thicker and some of them are a little thinner. So I think a couple of the ones that are a little thicker didn't quite dry out as much as maybe they were supposed to, but they're still okay.
Them prior to them going stale or going perhaps molding, and you'll be good.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So sensory stuff. We have that many minutes. Not even. No, we have this many minutes.
Okay.
So I know you're like, I don't know what you should have said to me. I was trying.
I'm going, is it important? That was my thought process.
I know.
Is this really important? She'll just tell me when it's time to wrap up. And that was where I had gone with that at that point.
I know. I could tell by the look on your face.
I told you I'm very unfiltered today. And okay, so one of the things, you know how people have emotional support animals? As you were talking about what you fiddle with right now. Well, Cooper is under the covers right beside me, and I'm curling his hair on his back. It's really long.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, or sometimes Emmy, she knows, and she comes and hugs me, and then I'm literally holding and petting her. And I realized, sometimes I think it'd be really cool to turn him into an emotional support animal. But I think
Mom's in a sarcastic mood today.
It was not your best subject, I'm guessing.
No, it was not.
It was mine, though. Did you know that?
I know. Yeah. And so that's why you said you think God has a sense of humor, because he makes it difficult for you now.
Yeah. I still love numbers. I just don't understand them. So
yeah,
they're more kind of like that alphabet soup you scoop and ladle.
Yeah.
So, okay. Try to bring us back to sensory.
Well, yeah, I mean, Emmy, you were talking about Emmy and Cooper and how they
Yeah, and so I can see how emotional support animals can help in that area.
Yeah, they can be very calming. And that's not always what sensory issues or sensory stimming
Yeah.
is in regards to. It's not necessarily about calming. It's about getting the input that somebody needs in a particular area. I know. I'm just going on. You talk. You do what you need to do over there.
I'm sorry. Allie just walked in, and she was showing me she just found a clover that had.
Oh, 4 leaves. Nice. A, B, C, D leaves.
Yeah, she's hollering 4 leaves.
Ah, good.
So, sorry, that was my. Yeah, I don't know. And so sensory. I missed what you said. Do you want to
I
say
said
again?
sensory isn't always about calming. I mean, it's not that you have to have it for calming purposes, but because you sometimes you just need that input to help you focus. It's not about always because we said, you could see why the animals would be support animals, why they would be good. And I said, yeah, they're calming. And then I was like, well, but not
Yeah, or
every,
they just help you. Yeah, focus. I think it's more focus than calm sometimes.
yeah. It's just about giving you what you need at the time. Some people just, some people can't sit long, so they have to stand, or vice versa. And that's some of that is sensory because of the muscles. Some of that is, just needing that pressure of sitting down. I was trying to think of some things that, because a lot of the things that I had in my room were softer, but there were some harder, coarser textures that would help. Like one of them, and I tried to find it and I couldn't find it. It was a piece of plastic. It was about that long, I guess. And on one side of it was Velcro. And so kids could like scratch that with their fingers because some kids just needed that input.
We would actually do that, put a piece of Velcro underneath Bit's desk where she could feel it. And it was stuck on both the loop and the other side.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because because one side is a little bit softer than the other side, but yeah, I mean they're both kind of coarse. And the reason that ours was on a plastic piece is for this particular student, they weren't with me and they weren't in the same desk all day long, so that way they could take it with them wherever they were going. But yeah, I've seen that done too a lot, where there's a strip on the underside of a desk or table or wherever the child sits so that they can have access to it. And yeah, there's just tons and tons of stuff that could be sensory related. So my hope is that everybody that is watching realizes that to some extent you have your own sensory needs. And that's okay. There are other people who have a higher need for sensory, and the way they process it is different. And that should be okay too. If you have a taste for a sour something or the other, I don't think that it would be right to deny you that need. Your body needs something when it's wanting something sour, or it needs the salt when it's wanting something salty. Those are all acceptable. We have to learn to be okay with other people's sensory needs, even if they make us uncomfortable. Because in essence, somebody's going to be uncomfortable. Either the person who's not getting the sensory need, or the person who doesn't understand the sensory need, but maybe is accepting of it for a little time that the other person needs it. Is that a good way to wrap up?
Sure.
Okay, it's good because it's time.
Bye.
We just have a few seconds to go. Bye, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us.